Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today in the Ask SSM video series, gonna do an update to a video I covered about 6 weeks ago, which is titled, How Do I Tell My Daughter's Boyfriend That She's Cheating on Him? And guys, as a recap, that's about the father who wrote in about his daughter, that it was discovered by his wife that she was cheating on her boyfriend. And as you can imagine, this father who watches the channel regularly, as well as his wife, were extremely disappointed in her because, number one, they don't want their daughter behaving in a way that, well, you all know how many behave nowadays. And also, this is a good kid. He doesn't deserve to be treated like this. Now, the father mentioned that the daughter has a history of problems. When she was a teen, she tried offing herself, I believe, ended up in the loony bin, as he called it, for a period of time. The boyfriend of hers was raised by his mother and really beaten down by her, made to feel like he's worthless and he's very fragile, you know, one of those types. So he's worried this boy might do something to himself. So he's in a tough situation. And I responded to that saying that this kid has got to know, you know, and what your daughter's doing is unacceptable. And then I said I would make sure you and the wife are on a united front here and how to handle her. And you got to sit her down and tell her, you pretty much, you got to tell him, or we're going to do it. End the freaking story here. And if you're not going to listen to us, well, you know what? Then it's time for you to pack your bags and go, because you're the big adult and we don't want this in our house. Something like that. That was my opinion. Well, it's been some time and the guy wrote back. And let's just say it has been quite a doozy. His angelic daughter, and I'm being sarcastic here, is quite the handful here. He says, Hi SSM and community. I figured I would update you on the situation of my daughter and the boyfriend, Ellen and Carl. Let me try to respond to some of the comments. Someone mentioned that I sound more like a stepfather. They are correct. Aha! She is not your biological child. Now we're getting somewhere here. Ellen is my stepdaughter. I have 3 biological kids and my wife. You know what they say, the first kid is the one you make all the mistakes with, so now I have a better idea of what not to do with the other 3. There you go. Stepfather, huh? This is really going to explain a lot of her behavior, particularly in this story here. How a lot of kids will lash out and they act like they're the big victim, they're the product of a divorce, therefore having free reign to act like an a-hole and all that. Doesn't surprise me. I'm not saying all stepchildren behave in this way, but a lot of teenage girls freaking go nuts. Parents break up and then they take it out on the stepfather. Another commenter said that my wife may be unfaithful too. I'm not going to lie, that comment ticked me off. But I understand why they would say that. And like what SSM says, keep an eye out for red flags. And the flags are few and far between, and when they do come up, I watch her and question her. Well, you can't blame a guy in the comment section for making that comment, bro. We are here looking out for each other. And if you watch me a long time, guys, how many stories have I covered where marriages, they got that everything was great. And then, lo and behold, things weren't so great. So, as you said, you're watching out for red flags. You always got to do that. It's just a sad reality, gentlemen. Particularly all the temptations out there, social media, dating apps, all that, other women, the feminist movement, all these things contributing to the mess we're in today. In the past, it leads a lot of women down. She sometimes would say that if I left her, that I would have to pay child support for the 3 kids. I reply with, if that happens, I would fake my death and good luck getting money from a dead man. Obviously, they're joking around here, but she knows this guy is not one to mess with. I was not able to read all the comments because after a couple days, I couldn't find the video again. I didn't know if if YouTube took it down or what. Well, I looked it up and everything's back to normal. I don't know what the heck happened with that, but I fixed it this morning. So you guys, if you guys stumbled upon this and didn't see the video, I'll post a link in the description as well as the top of the comments section. You can go back, but everything's back to normal now. I don't know what the hell happened. I'm still trying to figure that out. Now, many of you commented on different ways to handle the situation. Some said rip the Band-Aid off and tell him. Others said not to tell him, but have Ellen tell him, and everything in between. So what did I choose? After talking with my wife, we decided that she needs to at least break up with Carl, whether or not she's honest as to why in her decision. But if she doesn't do it in a timely manner, I was going to tell him, and I will tell him everything I know. Good. That's the way I thought you should handle it. So get your popcorn, beer, soda, and blood pressure medication ready. I'm going to try and list everything that's happened in chronological order the best I can. Yeah, of the list that he just gave, I would say the most important is the blood pressure medication. So apparently Ellen was on a self-destructive path that we weren't aware of, but probably she should have been. Not even a week after the events of the last post, Ellen gets a DUI and smashes the front end of her 2023 Hyundai, spends the night in the drunk tank, and had to get her car out of the impound lot. Oh, for God's sakes. Self-destructive path. I'm willing to bet you that she's been on a self-destructive path probably since she and your wife and her dad, her biological dad, got divorced. And probably you came into the picture and became the new husband of your wife. I'm willing to bet you there was things going on then, and you said during her teenage years she was a handful. I'm the product of a divorce, therefore I get to be an asshole. That's probably what was going on there. Supposedly, she had her license taken away and was suspended for a week until the results of her court date. She said that the cops told her that she would have to pick up her license up in front of the DMV after the week is up. That sounds fishy. He says, that didn't sound right to me, but I never had a DUI before, so I couldn't confirm. But I did ask which DMV does she pick it up from, the one closest to us, the one in the jurisdiction of her DUI, or what? She did not know, so I told her to start making phone calls to figure it out. Shortly after, she tells me that her license is no longer suspended and will be mailed to her. Again, I thought that sounded weird, but whatever. That does sound weird. Next, just 2 days after she supposedly gets her license back, her non-driving ass totals her car in $495. And she wasn't even going to tell us. It was Carl who called us to say he was on his way to the scene to pick her up. Smack the Carl. They broke up, and for obvious reasons. I assume they broke up at this point, and he's going to pick her up. Sounds like the type of guy I figured Carl to be. She crashed the car again. Yeah, self-destructive. She's got problems. Aside from obviously lying and all sorts of other things going on here, cheating on her boyfriend. After a bit, she finally calls us to tell us what happened. She tells me that she was driving home and someone cut her off, causing her to swerve and smash into a concrete barrier. The other driver got to check on Ellen, but when Ellen asked for her insurance, the driver said that she had no insurance. Ellen told her to go so she wouldn't get in trouble. What? Are you effing kidding me here? SSM, I went from concern to blood-boiling rage in 0.2 seconds and started cussing Ellen out. She started bawling and saying she was so sorry and how she's a worthless piece of crap. Yeah, okay, that's what they do, particularly young gals do when they know they've done something wrong, screwed up, but instead of dealing with it, I screw up everything, and then the father's like, that's okay, sweetheart. You're a stupid asshole, but I still love you. You know? Oh, for God's sakes. I told her I love her, but she's a fucking idiot, and I'm glad she's not dead. Good, don't let her get away with that crap. A day or two later, Ellen was talking with her mother, and apparently what she told me wasn't the truth. Oh, big surprise. What actually happened was, she was driving home and suddenly had an intrusive thought and decided to act out the thought and try to off herself via car crash, which didn't work thanks to modern crash safety features. Sir, this girl's got effing problems. You need to deal with her big time. What if she hurt somebody? Or she could be dead. But now she was in an awkward place because now she has no car, which means that her boyfriend Carl has to drive her everywhere. So good luck seeing her other man now, or so I thought, but I'll get into that later. So are they broken up or are they not broken up? She now has to either rely on Carl or Uber to get to work. A couple days go by, I'm at work, and she calls me. The audacity of this little bee, she calls to borrow my car. After all this, she wants to borrow your car? Oh, hell no. Ray Charles will do a better job of driving freaking cars than this girl. No way, she's going to smash it on purpose. So she's proven to be self-destructive, a liar, a cheater, manipulative, bringing drama into your life. Oh, joy. It took so much willpower not to berate her and her sanity. Well, you should have. Because obviously everything else isn't working. The theiring approach isn't working. I told her I didn't think that was a good idea. She took that surprisingly well. About a week later, she comes home one day frantic because she's running late for work. She asked me to borrow the car again, and I said no. Now, why'd she ask you again? Because she figures she can wear you down eventually. I said, no, I kind of need that car. I had somewhere to be the next morning, and I didn't need my car wrecked. She pleads with me, pleads that Uber was costing her hundreds of dollars a week, and she doesn't have any other way to get to work. That's her fucking problem. As a grown-ass adult, she created the situation that led to her not having a car. I replied, whose fault was that? Good. She continues to tear her room apart looking for a uniform. It was a nice day outside, and a bunch of people were over. My wife's parents, her brother, and his family. About 30 minutes later, Ellen comes barging out of the house, begging me to use the car in front of everyone. Everyone was just staring at the both of us. That manipulative little brat. She knew exactly what she was doing, putting you on the spot in front of everybody. Now, what our guy should do is say, no, I told you, Uber. Instead, after a minute or two, I said, fine. Smack! Are you out of your freaking mind? You might as well take a baseball bat to your car right now, because in one form or another, that's going to happen ultimately. I told her that I'm only giving her one chance. I need my car the next morning, so no going out with it after work. Straight to work and straight home when done. She promised to be straight there and straight back. Yeah, her promises don't mean crap, dude. My wife thanked me and said that she knew how hard it was for me to do that. I told her I'm giving her one chance, and if she screws it up, I'm done helping her. You shouldn't be helping her at this point, man. She needs help, professional help. She needs to be dealing with a therapist. She needs to be probably in some kind of like therapy. And they'll probably the loony bin, I'll be honest with you. And not in your house where she's bringing nonstop turmoil and drama. You can't tell me she isn't affecting the other kids in the house with all this crap. Really? And why can't your wife lend her car? How about that? There's an idea. He says, SSM, there are 3 things you can count on in life. Death, taxes, and people disappointing you. I would add war to that list. You can count on war. That night I was getting late. It was getting late, and I haven't seen Ellen back with my car yet. Oh, shocker. I knew she had the late shift and maybe took some time cleaning up. Finally, at 1:30 a.m., I call her to figure out what's going on. She tells me she's in an Uber heading to her friend's house. Is this miss? I can't afford Uber because it's too expensive, and now, where's your car? I asked, why are you heading to a friend's house, not bringing my car back, and where's my car? Ellen tells me that my car is still at her work, and she's too drunk to drive home. Oh, for God's sake, she's an irresponsible jackass. And she knows there's no consequences to her actions. This is what you're getting. I started seeing red again. I was like, what the fuck? Why are you drunk getting off work? And you promised me to bring my car back right after work. And that she couldn't go one day without drinking. I asked her if she needed to go to rehab. There's no way she's going to say, oh yes, I want to go back to rehab. Really? I have an addict in my family. I've mentioned this before, guys. This addict, and I'm being as vague as possible, has a lifetime problem with drug and alcohol abuse. Been in and out of rehab many times. Tried offing oneself multiple times. They don't want to go back to rehab. Oh, no. And by the way, when it comes to addicts, they don't have a problem. You have a problem. Everybody else has a problem. And how do you know they're lying all the time? Because their fucking lips are moving. There ain't no way she's going back to rehab voluntarily. You have the problem in her mind. No, her ass needs to be put there. As well as obviously therapy for all her other problems she's having here. But again, I'm the product of a divorce. She said no, of course. Shocker. And she promised me to get my car back first thing in the morning. Like how she promised to bring my car straight back. She asked me what time I needed my car by, and I said by 11, so I told her between 9 and 10. Let's see if she's back by between 9 and 10. Next morning, I haven't heard from her, and it's 9:30, still no word. Well, you know what? She's an a-hole, but in this case, you're the bigger a-hole for loaning her your car. After all that, I call her, she eventually answers and tells me she's currently walking to the car. But I can tell by the sounds of the phone, she just woke up and most likely still at her friend's house. Mind you, her work is about a good 45-minute drive away, and she still has to get an Uber to my car and drive it home. She didn't get home until 11:15 in the morning. I told her not even think about asking it for again. And yet there's no consequences for her actions. This is what happens, guys. And I get, no doubt you probably have a tug of war with your wife, but you're the man of the house, you're the father, you need to lay down the law. Now, but well, actually, you're her stepfather, and I'm sure it goes back to, you're not my real dad. Why does she go off and live with her dad? Where is he? So a little while later, after a few days or week goes by, I get the news that Ellen finally broke up with Carl. Why'd you let it get that far? I wouldn't have got that far. I was like, finally, now he can move on. It was short-lived, though. 3 days later, Ellen and Carl got back together, and the real kicker, Ellen never stopped seeing the other guy. Let's just call him Tom. Well, it's time to send Ellen out of the house, as if she isn't causing enough problems already. She just needs, around, Carl, to drive her places. I'm thinking to myself, why? I thought Ellen wasn't happy with Carl, but yet I can't seem to let him go. She's not letting him go because he obviously drives her ass around and she can mooch off him. That's why. One day Ellen was getting all dressed up to go hang out with some of her friends from work. Tom is a co-worker. Carl took Ellen to her work to get dropped off before he had to go to work himself. This poor young naive bonehead. This young guy, Carl, needs my work. ASAP. The next morning, Ellen comes home in a different outfit. I asked where she stayed and she replied, at a friend's house. I asked her if it was Tom, and she looked at me with a look of none of your business and said, what do you think? She is deliberately disrespecting you, right to your face in your own freaking house, and she knows, again, no consequences. I went upstairs and told my wife of our conversation, and she can tell what I was thinking and said, don't, it's not our place to tell him. I said, screw that, he needs to know. Now you and the wife are not in a united front anymore, this is a problem. She and I just stared at each other for about a minute and then decided that we weren't going to agree on this. I told myself I will give Ellen 7 days to do the right thing, and if she doesn't, I will. No, screw that. You've been giving Ellen chance after chance, and she's been bringing turmoil and drama in your life, disrespecting you. I get right to that guy and tell him. After 7 days, I texted Carl, but I didn't want to tell him via text, so I asked him if he wanted to go camping at some point, and he should come over and we can talk about it. He said he was interested, and his next day off was Wednesday. Unfortunately, that was a busy day, and I only saw him in passing. So I tried calling and texting him a couple more times, but he was busy. Just go tell him. Seriously, don't let this guy be humiliated and suffer any longer. If your wife doesn't like it, too fucking bad. Finally, a couple weeks later, Ellen finally breaks up with Carl again, and so far it has been permanent. I saw him in our driveway in his car right after it happened, and he was sobbing. I tried to comfort him a bit, told him if he needed to talk, he can call me, and if he needs to make himself better, he should take it out on some gym equipment and leave drugs and alcohol alone. They won't help. Yeah, but you said this guy obviously doesn't have a strong male role model, and you like the kid. He's a good kid, just he's weak and worn down. I'd recommend a young Carl to my work. That can definitely help him, but he has to be open to it. But yeah, your stepdaughter does not care about him whatsoever. She only cares about herself, and she is an absolute train wreck. I've checked on him from time to time, and the last time I spoke to him, he is still working and has signed up for some sports to occupy his free time. Well, that's good. He needs to keep busy. Ellen claims that she's staying single for a while. I'm sure she doesn't know what that means because she's still seeing Tom. And even if I meet him, I'm going to straight up tell him don't get serious with Ellen because she is a notoriously monkey brancher and will eventually cheat on you. And that is the abrupt ending to this guy's story, and you can tell he's frustrated as can be. Sir, at the end of the day, it's your life, your family, your house. But at the end of the day, if it was me, she'd be out of there. After all, she is self-destructive. It is only a matter of time before this is going to impact your other children. She is self-destructive. She has no respect for anybody. She is a liar. She's a cheater. She's a manipulator. She deliberately disrespects you to your face all the fucking time through her actions and words. And she knows darn well there's no where has been any consequences to her actions other than you temporarily saying, find your own freaking ride to work, and her having to pay for Uber. And she manipulated you right in front of all the family members to get a loan her car. Look what happened there. No. First of all, she needs professional help. And that's a department you're going to have to work out and handle. That's not my area of expertise. But at the very least, she needs to go. Seriously. You need to have a sit down with your wife and lay down the law and make it clear she's a grown-ass adult. Obviously, she's older than 18. Obviously, she's 21. She has a job. She's got this amount of time to get out of here, preferably now. Or how about she go live with her dad, okay? Because he treats me like I'm a second-class citizen, you know? She can go live with her dad and figure that out. Or she has to go. Because I guarantee this is affecting your other kids. You may think your other kids aren't noticing all the turmoil and drama having an affect them. It is. Trust me. Kids know a lot more what's going on than parents ever seem to think. It's amazing, okay? I knew a lot more shit that was going on as a kid than my parents ever figured out, you know? There were ups and downs with my parents, but overall they had a great marriage, but still nothing's perfect. I have nephews that had this. They knew a lot of what was going on with their parents before their parents got divorced, okay? And what's the next thing? She's going to set fire to the kitchen or destroy something in the house? I mean, really, this is important. And I don't give a crap anymore if she had problems when she was a teenager and everything. I'm sure that was just her reacting to her parents getting divorced, your wife and her dad, and her probably milking that for all it's worth. No. And then the way she's treating this other guy here, everything says she's just a lowlife, you know? But you got 3 other kids, and I want them to get messed up because of her shit. And I might add, you as a man deserve to have peace in your own house. There's been never-ending drama. And if your wife doesn't like that, then it's time to have a serious thought about your future. But clearly, the wife, aside from being very upset with her cheating on her boyfriend from what you said in the last story, I'm willing to bet you your wife, her mother, allows her to get away with a lot of shit, and that's why she is the way she is today. It's only a matter of time before she does something that's either going to get her killed or somebody else, or her definitely arrested and thrown in prison. It's going to happen. And a lot of times, a lot of people try to sue the parents for the way their kids act. So be aware of that. So, Sarah, you got some work to do, but this cannot continue as is. It's only going to get worse and worse and worse. So let that be a lesson to all you guys out there about laying down the law with your kids. And I might add, if you're going to marry a woman with a child, what could happen is if you become the stepfather and all the bullshit you're going to deal with. And you can't tell me that she wouldn't be giving the same bullshit to her real dad. Really. I'm sure you probably got at least once or twice when she was younger. You're not my real dad. You can't tell me what to do. You wrote in, sir, and so you wanted my opinion. You want to share the story. So I'm giving it to you. And I know you're in a tough spot, but if you continue handling things as they are, they're going to stay just as bad or worse. And I want that to happen to you or your 3 other kids because I'm sure they're good kids. So you got some work to do. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And please do comment away. Offer this guy some suggestions. And you guys that are stepfathers out there that have dealt with some bullshit, give them some tips. And we can go from there. But your wife needs to know you're serious and mean business. And if that means you got to really lay down the law or draw a line in the sand and say, things aren't going to change. If you're not going to stand with me, then, well, we got to have a serious talk about our future. And if you're going to do that, you got to say what you mean and mean what you say. Because you can't back down once you say that. But I hope it doesn't come to that. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.